Foreign portfolio investment inflow on the Nigerian Exchange Limited has seen an increase between July 2023 and August 2023. The latest domestic and foreign portfolio investment reports from the NGX showed an increase of 45.93% to 13.79 billion naira in August 2023 from 9.45 billion in July. The report also showed the outflow of foreign capital had moderated to 23.37 billion from 31.09 billion as of the end of July this year. Foreign portfolio inflow of investments had appreciated in May, the same month as the inauguration of President Bola Tinubu, signaling positive investor sentiment. However, it has been declining in subsequent months to 22.72 billion in June, 9.45 billion in July, before the upward movement to 13.79 billion at the end of August. Joining me now is Kasimu Garba Kurfi, CEO of APT Securities and Funds. Kasimu, welcome to Business Edge. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So when we look at the total monthly transactions on the local markets, we're seeing that the NGX reported this 62.65% depreciation from 702.98 billion in July to some 262.56 billion in August. On a year-on-year basis, the total transactions in August 2023 actually outperformed those of August 2022 by at least 111%. So when we start from there, what do we see are the dynamics, sort of the factors that are pushing and pulling the market at this point right now?
Well, I think the dynamic is that most of the retail investors who are the major player decided to start taking their profit. If you remember, by the time the president was inaugurated, that is 29 May, that next day after that inauguration, the market gained more than 5%, ever in the history of the capital market. By the end of June, the market gained more than 15%. And therefore, this is the all-share index. Individual stocks, some of them gain 100%, 200%, some as much as 500%. That tells you the extent individual stocks have gone. So most of them decided to start taking their profit. And that's what makes the decline of this, because there is more supplier and more seller than the buyer. But as I'm talking to you, the event have changed. In this current month of September, our turnover are far ahead of what we have experienced in the month of August. And we are expecting this trend to continue in the subsequent months. Remember, for the first in the history of the Nigerian capital market, we have a president that went and rang the bell of NASDAQ. We have never had it before. At the same time, because of FTSE Russell, they have declined the position of the Nigerian exchange from frontier market to non-frontier market. That pushed the Minister of Finance and some individual brokers attended the FTS London, and they were there. So all these, they combine to give the confidence of the investors in view of the current policy of the single exchange rate. So we are expecting more inflow in the subsequent months, because the side effect of this visitation by the president and the Minister of Finance in London, we are expecting to start feeling it toward the end of this month and early October. And don't forget that this is toward their end, and most of the portfolio manager may like to readjust their portfolio. So we have confidence that the market will rebound and do better.
Okay, so you bring up President Tinubu ringing the bell at NASDAQ, as well as the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, who also paid a visit to the London Stock Exchange on an investment drive on Monday. So are you quite confident that what some would say is just some shows could actually lead to actual investment into Nigeria's stock market, and we'll see actual tangible results from these visits and these investment drives and these moves that we're seeing from the president as well as from the minister?
Yes, remember that we have never had that. And now we cannot rule out that caution may be arise, and which they are there by themselves, ready to answer this. And don't forget that for the first time in the history of the Nigerian economy, we have a single exchange rate where the foreign portfolio can inflow their dollars and take it as wishes. So these are the cardinal principles for the foreign inflow. And we believe that with their presentation, it will give more confidence. And don't forget that locally, most of our stocks are doing very well. We have seen the result displayed by most of the banks, performing extremely well and declaring huge interim dividend. This you hardly get in the frontier, emerging, or even the developed market, but it is here. So we have the confidence that this visitation will add to the value of the market, and we expect to see more transaction by the foreign portfolio.
Okay, so we can see that there was an immediate appreciation after President Tinubu took office in May, but then we saw June and July with some depreciation before we're back to where we are now with August, an appreciation of about 45.93%. Talk us through this trajectory that we're seeing. So it basically looks like this, then goes down, sort of holds steady, then goes back up again. What's accounting for that trajectory?
Well, actually, it's the trend of the market to go up and down. But what make our market to go down recently is because of FTSE Russell. They downgrade our market. And this is a very serious matter for the foreign portfolio because they have their portfolio considered Nigerian Exchange as a frontier market. Mere downgrading it means that the foreign portfolio must exit their portfolio in those stocks. And that is why you see big stocks like Zenith GT, they all lost value. However, don't forget that the major assessment of the market is MICS, and that is the Morgan Stanley. That have not said anything. If that one have done what FTSE Russell have done, it will have put our market worse off. But since the Morgan Capital have not yet said anything about our position, it's a welcome development. And don't forget that most of the private equity are more from the US than from the London. Mm-hmm. And we hope that even the FTSE Russell, with the presentation made by the Minister of Finance and some brokers, they may change their position because this was affected due to lack of the foreign exchange that affect in our first quarter, second quarter. Now we're in the third quarter, the trend have changed, and the possibility to come with your foreign portfolio and exchange it at the market rate and take it as so you wish. I believe this will make the change in their assessment. But you know, most of the assessment are quarterly basis. We believe that by the end of the third quarter, they will change their position, and that will help our foreign investors into coming into the Nigerian market.
Okay. Something else that the report showed us was that institutional investors have continued to dominate the markets, and they've outperformed retail investors by some 14% in the period under review. Is this a balancing act that we need to get into, or is it a focus? Do we need to be focusing on retail investors over institutional, or is it the other way around? And do you believe that this is a trend that will likely continue to see the dominance of institutional investors with the market?
Yes, this is the trend that is likely going to dominate. It started from year 2000. 2020, during the COVID, most of foreign investors decided to dump our shares. And looking at the market, looking at the return, the institutional investors, particularly the pension fund, started coming into the market. Today, pension fund, they are managing about 18 to 19 trillion. They are free to invest between 10 to 20%. Even if they decided to invest 10%, that is 1.9 trillion. That is a great liquidity to Nigerian exchange. And we believe this will continue because today, with the inflation of almost about 26%, the only financial instrument that hedge you against the inflation is the capital market. The all-share index have more than 30% gain from January to date. If you look at the bond, the treasury bill, the commercial paper, they are all giving you less than 20%. So the most ideal to hedge your fund against the inflation is to play the capital market. And that is why the institutional investors, particularly the pension fund, play in that market. And we expect this trend to continue. If by the chance the foreign portfolio come into it, it will trigger the participation to go much higher.
All right, finally, before I let you go, the NGX reports also revealed that the total domestic transactions decreased on the exchange by 65.97% from some 662.44 billion in July to 225.40 billion in August. We also saw total foreign transactions dip by 8.34% from 40.54 billion to 37.16 billion naira as at the end of August as well. In terms of what this picture paints for us, let's quickly go through that. What does this tell us, these figures, and how does it help you formulate a projection or an estimate for how things will run into the last quarter of the year?
Well, to us, it is common. Generally during August, because people want to travel out and they want to go for holiday, you see a drop in the turnover of the market. But now we are back to September. Most of the people back into the business and start preparing for the December Xmas and the New Year celebration. So people are investing heavily. By the time you get to your statistic for the month of September, I believe you that you will see the turnover in September is much far ahead of what we have recorded in the month of August. And it's natural, we are expecting October to do better than September. And that will continue up to December. So it's not uncommon. If you look at the trends across the years, August is always say that they go down, but thereafter they take up by September. And believe me, this year is one of it, and we expect that the turnover and the trend to be positive toward the end of the year.
All right, Kasimu Garba, Kurfi, CEO of APT Securities and Funds. Thank you so much for joining me on Business Edge.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And that's how we wrap things up today. Don't forget you can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Head to our website, www.newscentral.africa, and download our mobile app on Play Store and App Store. Till next time, I'm Tolulope, Adeleru-Balogun, 12 p.m. West African time. You have News Central Now coming your way. Do have a good weekend.